Hello, and welcome to this slideshow. This is the fourth in a series where I, Bones, tell Jake, a dinosaur, about what Magic was like in the past. This time we're going to talk through the 4 sets that released in 2009 and what playing casual Magic was like for me back then. Hello, Jake. What were you doing this year instead of playing Magic?
Hi, Bones. Let's see. In 2009, I think on the gaming front, Call of Duty had really taken the front and center stage. I was just starting high school, which is the perfect age to play Call of Duty. And I had World at War, not Modern Warfare 1. I don't think Modern Warfare 2 had come out yet. I think it's 2010 released.
It comes out this year, 2009.
Really? Okay. I did get that pretty close to release.
Maybe you don't get it when it's brand new.
No, I did. So
Okay.
I was playing mostly zombie mode at the end of 2009. Got very invested in that. And then Modern Warfare 2 a lot as soon as that got started. I never had Halo in its contemporary time. I did play some, with friends at their places, but that was the main gaming thing. And I mean, beyond that, starting high school and all of the awkwardness that's entailed there.
Okay. That's what Jake was doing. Here's what I was doing. So it was my senior year of high school, going into my first year of college. So I turned 18, I started college. I met my future wife in the honors dorms of college, and we were both in the honors programs at the college that we went to. And it's funny that you mentioned those video games because one of the first things she and I bonded over, just as friends, was playing co-op Nazi zombies.
Wow, that's awesome. I don't think I knew that. And I had heard you tell the story of meeting and getting to know them, but I don't think I knew that the Call of Duty Zombies mode was a significant part of that.
I saved it just for this.
That's really well done. It's awesome.
I also played Modern Warfare 2. There was like some loadout that you could do in that game where you could call in an airdrop, like a care package, and they had perks that would you could run endlessly and you could melee a greater distance, and melee was an instant kill. And whenever you're holding the beacon that calls in an airdrop, you're like twice as fast. You just don't have a gun, but you can still melee. So all I would do in that game is I would abandon a gun as soon as possible in this first-person shooter. I would get like 2 kills, get to the point where you can call in an airdrop, and then I would just sprint all over the map and instant kill everyone I could reach.
Wow, so you were a care package abusing commando
Yes, I
Modern
was.
Warfare 2 player.
That was my favorite thing to do.
Is that mono red aggro in Modern Warfare 2?
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't care anything about the strategic portion of this game. I want to go as fast as possible and cheat, stabbing you in the face before you can aim down sight.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think Call of Duty is, what I would call a very strategic game in the grand scheme of things. And
well, fair.
I think it's a quintessential game that's about, it's cool when I'm doing it and it's absolute crap when my opponents are doing it to me. So
yeah,
that was, far from the most broken thing you could do in that game. Not a game actually very well known for its balance. Probably the vintage cube of Call of Duty games.
Sure. Beyond Modern Warfare 2 and Nazi Zombies, I was also playing Torchlight for the first time as a big Diablo 2 fan. I really enjoyed Torchlight. Borderlands, which would go on to become one of my favorite games of all time, released this year, and I got really into that. And then, unfortunately, League of Legends became really popular and officially released in 2009. And a bunch of my time in college, way too much of my time in college, was spent playing League of Legends.
Interesting. I did not know that you were a League player.
Yeah, I try not to be associated with it anymore. It's like it was an obsession. It's like I'm in recovery.
I like Arcane a lot, but that makes me about as likely to play League of Legends as watching Breaking Bad would make me want to try a certain substance. So
yeah.
We'll talk MOBAs in 2012. That's when I first got into the genre. It's not League of Legends, but I won't spoil it.
Yeah. We were also watching some great movies in 2009. James Cameron's Avatar was the biggest movie of the year, the biggest movie of all time by some metrics. Watchmen, Zack Snyder's Watchmen, I really loved. Also Inglourious Bastards, Zombieland. And this is a personal one that my wife still hates, and I have a lot of fondness for, but mostly nostalgia. 500 Days of Summer. You know this one?
Huh. I don't think I do.
It's Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Zooey Deschanel. Just a rom-com that I really liked whenever I was in college.
But your wife doesn't.
I know, she hates it.
That is really funny. You specifically mentioned Avatar. That reminds me of a story that I had not remembered for a very long time. I went on a setup first date with Selen to go see that movie, which is a really weird thing in retrospect. That movie is like 3 hours long, and we didn't know each other basically at all. So we just kind of silently sat next to each other for 3 hours
That's really funny.
watching this movie, which maybe is why I hate movie dates to this day. But
Yeah, I mean, that seems like a pretty memorable bad experience.
yeah, it was definitely a strange one. I don't know why I remembered that based on you saying it, but I did. So that's another thing I was doing in 2009.
Okay, and finally, I was getting further into Magic the Gathering. So, you can see the card on the screen, pretty infamous.
Yes.
Before I reveal the first set of cards, can you name the other 8 cards in Bodleian, any of the other 8 cards in Bodleian that released in this year?
Yeah, so I think I have us triangulated in the grand scheme of timelines. I
Okay.
appreciate that no one has dropped any spoilers. So it's interesting because this is Path to Exile, but I have no idea what set Path to Exile is from.
Do you remember the last set we talked about?
Are there more Alara sets? I guess there must be,
Yes.
but I don't know what they are.
Okay, great.
But I'm pretty sure after Alara comes Zendikar.
Zendikar is the fall set of this year, which means there are 3 sets in between Shards of Alara, which is the last thing we talked about, and Zendikar.
Yep, that makes sense. But from Zendikar, we get 5 fetch lands.
That is not any of the 9. You're correct, but I excluded that from my count.
You exclude. Oh no! Here I was feeling pretty confident. Okay, so the 5 enemy color fetches don't count towards that 9.
Nope, I apologize.
Okay, so Lotus Cobra is also from Zendikar.
Yep.
Bloodghast.
Yep.
Day of Judgment.
Yep.
That 9 doesn't include Path to Exile either.
9 does include Path to Exile. There's 8 others.
Okay.
I will clue you in. There are 6 from Zendikar and 3 from the set that Path is from.
Oh no, there are 6 from Zendikar.
You've named half of them.
Yeah, that's only half though. Before we started recording, I almost said that I was feeling better about this one than the previous one.
This is a banger year. It's a big number of cards to remember.
Chase the Mind Sculptor is
2010.
not okay. Oh, Stoneforge Mystic.
Nope.
That's also going to be 2010 then. I am not looking at the list on purpose. I feel like that could be construed as cheating. Let's see. What are the other medium old cards that I run? This feels too early for Innistrad.
It is too early for Innistrad. We would have already talked about it.
Oh, right. Okay. Burst Lightning.
Yeah, good job. 2 remain in Zendikar.
I think that is the extent of my guesses.
Okay. The last 2 in Zendikar are Spell Pierce, which, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you knew that was from that set, and Goblin Guide, which is quintessentially from that set to me, but maybe not to you.
Nope. Goblin Guide. I definitely knew that. I just didn't think of it while I was doing the mental inventory of cards.
Okay. And from the set that Path to Exile is from, we also get Noble Hierarch and Knight of the Reliquary.
That makes sense.
Can you name that set?
Conflux?
Good job. Yes, Complex. That's the cards from Bodleian, and here are the cards that all the good players are playing in Constructed. Lightning Bolt is added to Standard for the first time in at least 15 years.
Is it the last time too?
It's in Standard for a while. It gets reprinted in, I think, M11, M12.
That's crazy.
It's in Standard for a bit of time.
That totally makes sense. I just have never existed in a period where I considered Lightning Bolt to be a standard card or even a Pioneer card. I don't think I've ever seen this before.
Which one? The M10?
No, the Conflux.
Okay, Conflux. That's the point.
I mean, this is a really interesting base for Standard because I think of all of these as quintessential modern cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'll note all of these appear, some of them 4X, in my Museum of Modern's Greatest Hits cube.
Yes, and our premium cards in that cube.
Yeah.
It sounds like it would be a fun Standard.
I will go into greater detail about this Standard environment later. I do want to draw your attention real quick to the phrasing on Path to Exile. Remove target creature from the game.
So we haven't keyworded Exile yet.
No, we have not, although the word is in the name. So it's a little bit of foreshadowing of what's going to happen later this year.
That is extra interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't at some point. When I read old cards, I always struggle with the difference between bury and remove from the game.
Mm-hmm. Bury is just destroyed, can't regenerate.
Yep, but I usually have to remind myself of that.
That makes sense. Okay, so normally I have a fun little slide about what I was doing, like pre-releases or F&M or the things I'm learning. This time, I just have a meme. So before I get to that meme, I was playing a little bit less Magic for the first time in 2009. Still played all 4 of the sets that we're going to talk about as they were coming out. However, between graduating from high school, having a little bit of freedom for the first time, working a lot, saving up for college, then starting college, I definitely was doing less engagement with Magic on a week-to-week basis. So I just have nostalgia for the cards that are from this time, even though I didn't get to play that much. So here's my meme.
I like this a lot. Yeah, this is great. Did you invent this yourself?
Yes, I did.
I love it.
Incredible comparison of the exact same mana cost.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Joe, but Bloodbraid Elf is so much cooler than Minskipu. It's not even close.
If you exclude reminder text, Bloodbraid Elf has 2 words of rules text.
Yes, I have the promo version of this card that is just Ace Cascade.
It's so cool.
And it's centered, which I think looks really cool.
Yeah, I know that
given
one.
that there are only 2.
What a card. Okay, let's start talking through it. So the first set we have, which you just named earlier, is Conflux. It is the second set of the Alara block. The mechanics for Conflux are all of the shards of Alara mechanics for each of the 5 shards, plus Domain gets keyworded for the first time. It was a major theme in the Invasion block, Invasion Planeshift Apocalypse, having different basic lands, but they didn't name it. They just spelled out exactly for each different land type among, basic lands you control. And in this set, they keyword it with Domain. They reprint a couple of the cards, like Gaia's Might, from that set, and I think Worldly something, where you look at your top X cards and put 1 in your hand. And then Basic Land Cycling debuts here. Never existed until Conflux.
Wow. Those are some banger mechanics.
Yeah. Not a very big set. Again, set 2 of 3 of the Alara block, and it's a small set, but they did have quite some juice. And yeah, as we just noted, Path to Exile and Noble Hierarch are both from this set. So I'm about to show you some real good stuff. Do you know anything else about this set?
I have a suspicion from the art that this is where Nicol Bolas Planeswalker comes from.
Would you look at that? Just for Jake. Nicol Bolas Planeswalker.
Yeah, I almost didn't say it. I was like, well, Bones probably has that card down, if that's the case.
Jake's a fan.
I'm a big fan.
I do have you, across all these slideshows, pegged as a black-red player, and as much aristocrats as possible. You do enjoy other things. However, the things that make me think of you are just usually in this vein.
Yeah, I think that that's accurate to who I am. As a Magic player, I do tend to lean really heavily in that direction. And my second favorite style of deck is just not in a lot of sets compared to aristocrats. So,
what's your second favorite?
Ninjas.
Ninjas. Okay, yeah, that is hard to represent.
It is. Let's dive into these cards. So I read this first one. Love the art.
Mm-hmm. I love the art too. Rakamar is just such a cool character.
That seems really good. I mean, power level dependent, of course, but I was expecting that to say, put it into play, sacrifice it at your end step.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great first choice. I've never seen this card before. Cataract Parasite.
Mm-hmm.
Prototypical wheel combo card.
Yes. Still popular in Commander to this day, but doesn't really see play anywhere else. This is like one of the original Nekusar cards, the Mind Razor.
Well, you all know me, notable Commander expert, so clearly I knew that.
I have bad news. Commander is going to become a larger part of the game from this year forward.
So this is where we really stop the nostalgia cube train?
No. I'm just going to let you know that it's going to become a larger and larger portion of what cards become popular and are discussed.
That's fair enough. All right, and then we've got Shambling Remains. This is an interesting card. Just overstated for its cost with Unearth, which is a mechanic that I really like. I think Unearth is kind of a brilliantly designed mechanic, and it can't block.
This is one of the things that's really cool to just mill over or have to discard and be like, yeah, I just have this 4/3 haste in my graveyard on deck whenever the time is right.
Right, but the fact that you can only do it once and it exiles itself is just so contained.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think they can go really hard with these cards because there's a cap on what you can do with
them.
them.
Yeah, you get it one time and then it goes away.
All right, I'm pretty stricken by how few words are actually on Nicol Bolas Planeswalker.
I know, right?
Like, we tend to think of these as really wordy cards, but I also didn't realize this was an 8-drop.
It's the same as the original.
But for whatever reason, I thought those were 7s. So we destroy a creature or non-creature permanent. In fact, the exact opposite.
Why would you kill a creature when you can take it?
Yeah, we take it. 7 damage to a player. Discards That is an ultimate.
Mm-hmm. The original Elder Dragons are 2 generic, then 2 of each of their colors. So 2 blue, blue, black, black, red, red, which is why it's the same cost as 8. It's a little bit easier to cast. He's Grixis, which is centered in black. So instead of being the same number of all the pips, it's blue, black, black, red, then 4 generic. And the reason you thought they were 7 drops is because they are all 7/7 stats.
Yep, you're absolutely right. I didn't realize that that's why it was extra black pips, because the Grixis shard is
Mhm.
centered in black. That makes sense now that you say it. I just never thought about it before. What a cool card. I need a cube where I can play this card.
Yep, just keep adding it to the list.
Already done, my friend.
Okay. Cool for cubes. Ethersworn Adjudicator. Have you seen this one before?
The art looks familiar, but no.
It's got Mortify on deck.
That is kind of wild. The 4/4 flyer for 5 also just brawls at a reasonable rate.
Yeah. And it's an artifact, so it has that like inherent downside upside is that it dies to shatter, but also a bunch of your artifact things are going to plug into it. Like you could tinker for this. I don't know that you'd want to, but you could tinker for this. You can get it back from your graveyard more easily because it has 2 creature types.
Yeah, I mean, if you get to tinker into this in a cube, I think that's probably a pretty sweet cube.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know what the rest of it looks like, but yeah, this is a really interesting one.
Nixithid has this sweet Raymond Swanlin art.
Have we been able to choose opponents before this point in time?
Yes. Eventide had choose an opponent. Morningtide had choose an opponent. Yeah,
Okay.
this is not the first one.
I was just curious. Yeah, this is pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm. I envision this in a cube with like a rack type deck or Liliana the Veil. Just if there's any deck that's like dedicated mind rots, I think this is such a cool threat, a closer for that deck that doesn't have to be the rack or dependent on the opponent actively discarding cards like Tiny Bones, for example. And this being like unearthable, of course, I'm always going to think of unearth. This is such a neat thing that the opponent gets a lot of interesting agency around. Like, of course, you want to draw cards to shrink this, but every card that you play to the board is going to make it better. You can't just hoard cards because you'll die.
Yeah, that is a really decision-rich space. I'm a big fan of cards that create a mini game that both players get to engage with.
Yeah. Thornling. We talked about how bad Torchling was in Planar Chaos. Here we are with a new member of the Ling cycle.
This seems better than Torchling.
It is way better than Torchling. It is kind of crazy how good it is.
Yeah, green to be indestructible feels very good.
Sure does.
I've played with enough Kratz cards that become indestructible when they sack something to know that that line of text typically makes them very hard to deal with. And you can just kind of keep dumping mana in.
Yeah, on this design specifically, you can make it a 7/1 trample indestructible. So you just get to smush damage over. And you get to decide all that after they go to blocks. Like, what you're dealing with.
And you definitively have enough mana to do that if you cast this card already.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty nasty. Especially because you can stay at 6/2 and be able to respond to their removal spell.
Mm-hmm.
The indestructible. Really sucks to get disfigured. But
well, gotta have some downsides.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, very cool card.
Ancient Ziggurat was mostly a constructed card and is honestly bad in a number of cubes. But I have it in my museum for the humans deck because it was played in 5-color humans. And I think it's really cool whenever you can, like, obviously you can't rely on it like you could in constructed with 4 copies in limited. You're just going to have 1. But I think it's so neat to have this kind of like, if you go really deep on zoo, here's a free land for your early creatures.
Yeah, I am never exactly sure what to do with cards like this in Cube. It kind of reminds me of Plaza of Heroes, but for creatures instead of legendary cards. And they are really interesting in Singleton, but I think to your point, you don't really get to build a deck around them in the same way. But I do find that those cards are very cool in Desert Cubes, where you have to draft your lands anyway, and so the cost of drafting this over a different land is much lower than putting it over a basic where it might not work, depending on what your deck looks like.
I think Plaza of Heroes is generally going to be the replacement for this card in most cubes, because it can also tap for generic.
I think that that's definitely true. But I think that means that there's probably a lot of homes where this is cool in Desert Cubes.
Mm-hmm. Cube staples. Now, I am using this in the context of cards that were immediately staples in cubes when they released, not that they are current day staples.
Right, of course. I think anything less than that would be ridiculous.
Two of the best cheat targets ever made, especially at the time, Inkwell and Progenitus. These are some of your early show and tell and tinker plays.
Yes, I have played with Inkwell Leviathan before. I have never actually played a game in which Progenitus result, unless you consider a game in which Hexdrinker hits the last level as a game where Progenitus is result.
I do not.
Progenitus has way more swag than Hexdrinker does.
I have never understood Progenitus's art, why the fifth head is trailing completely off of the art and going a different direction entirely.
I don't know. It's a good question.
Thoughts on Banefire?
So, I think Banefire is a really interesting version of this effect. The Can't Be Countered is kind of brutal, but it's a 6-drop that you're blasting to do 5 damage. At that point, I think that inevitability in the right format is pretty good. But I think Banefire is also pretty clean as far as fireballs go.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that a lot.
There were several if X is 5 or more cards in this set. And then Knight. I know you like Knight.
I am a big Knight of the Reliquary fan. I think this and Bloodbraid Elf both scale really, really nicely across most cubes if you choose to put them there.
This is the first of 2 cards released this year that will be very big for making Dark Depths a playable constructed card. You want to guess the second one now?
Oh, well, we get Vampire Hexmage.
There you go.
And Zendikar.
Yep.
And Thespian Stage doesn't already exist?
No, we have not yet returned to Ravnica.
Okay.
Okay. Personal favorites. A lot of red cards here, obviously, but Master Transmuter might stick out to you.
I have seen this card before.
Okay. So it's Tinker, but your hand. Battlefield to hand. You're just exchanging 2 things. The reason I like this card is because after Shadowmoor, I had a casual Scarecrows deck. This was one of the most efficient ways to get Reaper King on the battlefield. And once Reaper King is on the battlefield, then I could just keep looping Scarecrows with Transmuter and get a Vindicate every turn for blue.
Very nice. Yeah, this is cool. It's interesting. You said Tinker. I was thinking it's like Goblin Engineer, but your hand.
That's true. Yeah. Or Welder.
Or rather, not Goblin Engineer, Goblin Welder.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that I meant. Yeah, it's really interesting.
Hellspark Elemental, also just a fun little aggro card. It's a Spark Elemental that you can hit with twice. It's very straightforward. Goblin Raise Runners. Sacking lands isn't great, but sometimes you're just going to have extra lands, and it's nice to put those onto a body that you can deal damage with every turn.
Yeah, I actually have a big fondness for this card.
Raise Runner specifically?
Yeah, I got a copy really early in my Magic playing career. I think it was a Battle Bond copy.
Okay.
And I never knew what to do with it in a kitchen table deck, but it always deeply fascinated me. Like I never built a deck for it, but I always really wanted to. I just never really saw other cards that inspired me to go with it based on the card pool I had available to me.
That's funny. Yeah, it was in Battle Bond, and I'm guessing it's just because they had a bunch of like support mechanics, so it was easy to dump a bunch of counters on it.
Yeah, and honestly, in the right cube, you got some ways to put counters on it. This is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. It was in Counters of Monte Cristo for a long time.
Oh, see, that's the kind of place that I think I'd be excited to try it.
I don't think it is there anymore. Let me see.
I do think that 4-mana 3/4s that you have to build around have a lot of friction with 2025 Magic cards.
Yeah, because he's had cards like Thundering Raiju come out since then.
Yeah, Thundering Raiju is there. This is
a lot less playable. Yeah, it's not there anymore. But it was there for a long time, and I don't think I would play it there, so that must be why he cut it, because I was one of the biggest fans of that card, and even I wouldn't play it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And Voracious Dragon, a way to finish out a game with your Goblins deck.
Yes, a very classical Bones card.
And then I crushed all my Goblins into a ball and threw the ball at you.
Right. And as it comes into play, right? So that you get that.
Yeah, if it gets countered, you don't lose all your Goblins. It has to be resolving for that to happen.
Very cool.
Okay, fun facts about the set. So Lapse of Certainty is an almost exactly color-shifted memory lapse, and is the last time we got a hard counterspell in white. They did a little bit of experimentation with like Mana Tithe and effects that are similar in Time Spiral Block. This is the first and last not messing with the color pie, just a normal set counterspell in white.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I was aware this card existed, but I didn't realize that they never printed another hard counter in white after that. Although I do think that makes sense from a color pie perspective.
And I'm obviously not counting Reprieve.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I don't think of Reprieve as being mean, I guess it's just as much of a hard counter as this is. Well, maybe not. That's, you know what? I don't want to get into that. Tell me about Sidraxis Alchemist.
Okay, Alchemist is got really cool art and was played in a Luren decks.
Yep, I can see that.
You can bounce itself to your hand over and over as long as you have any blue permanent. You can also bounce your Cavern Harpy if you want, which then bounces this and bounces Cavern Harpy and vice versa if you just want to juggle the two for some reason. But yeah, you can. There's a number of ways to go infinite with Sidraxis Alchemist in that deck specifically, and I just really, really, really like the art.
Excellent. I love the art on this next guy.
Blood Tyrant is the first time that whenever a player loses the game trigger occurs, and is another sign that we are moving toward multiplayer Magic as a more supported concept.
That does seem like a big sign.
This was one of the very first neon, this does not work as well in two-player Magic designs that they put out. Volcanic Fallout. Can you imagine why this card was printed in Conflux? It has nothing to do with Conflux, like any of the themes of the set.
It's just because of the counterbalance stuff that's happening.
No, after the release of Morningtide, Fairies quickly becomes the most dominant deck by a wide margin, and R&D has already designed Shadowmoor and Eventide and Shards at that point. And they are in the middle of designing and releasing Conflux whenever that becomes so dominant. So they put into Conflux an answer to the Fairies deck. This is the fastest they were able to release an answer to the meta.
That's crazy. So it was just a year before they put this out, and this just kills all the Bitter Blossom tokens, and they can't counter it.
Yep, they can't counter it, kills all the Bitter Blossom tokens, gets rid of any of the other things they have around like Pestermite.
Spellstutter Sprite.
Yeah. Spellsetter can't stop it, and it kills any of the spellsetters already in play.
This kills their Jace, too, depending on the loyalty, right? Because we still redirect damage from players to Planeswalkers.
That's true. You can redirect the 2 damage to a Planeswalker. Yeah. All right. So that's it for Conflux. Shoot. I reminded myself that I had an animation, and I forgot. I made a note, and I totally just looked right past the note. Okay, here's the second answer to Fairies. So you can resolve this on turn 1 before they have counter magic available. And then this can just sit on the board cleaning up Bitter Blossom tokens forever.
Yeah, it's basically Orcish Bowmasters, but every turn.
Yeah, pretty much. Man, I'm so mad. I'm just kicking myself because I made a note. You have an animation.
No, this is way funnier to have had it happen this way than it was the other way. I think it's super interesting that they went that long without this update, specifically because even though I play no constructed, I do hear a lot of constructed players complain, and it seems like waiting a year to print answers to something is just completely outside of the modern design philosophy. They will just ban a bunch of cards rather than do that.
Yeah, they didn't ban any cards in Standard for a long time. Like, Jace is coming up. Jace, the Mind Sculptor, and Stoneforge are on the horizon of first Standard ban in a long time. And it's an emergency situation.
Well, I look forward to hearing about it.
Okay. Now we are actually done with Conflux. Which means we're on to Alara Reborn, the final set of the Shards of Alara block. On the bottom right there, you'll see the 15-card premium foil booster pack. This is a booster pack that is, I think, $15 at MSRP, and it is 15 all foil cards, which is why foils from this block demand less of a premium than foils from other blocks, because there were a lot more printed for this product.
So they have the proto collector booster here.
Yep, you called it. Do you know anything about Alara Reborn? It has a major gimmick.
Cascade.
That's a mechanic. As a set, you're correct. Cascade releases here, but what's the gimmick?
What is the gimmick for Alara Reborn? I have no idea.
It is solid gold.
Every card here is a gold card?
Every card is gold. There is nothing colorless. There's no lands. There are no monocolor cards. It's all multicolored gold cards.
So it's a Reading Rainbow set.
Yep, pretty much.
That's crazy. No, I didn't know that.
There you go. They don't do gimmick sets after this one. I don't think they ever do another gimmick like that. Because Legions was all creatures, and then this is all gold.
By my reckoning, they do 3 gimmick sets a year at this point. So,
Shots fired.
all right, so we got all gold cards.
Yep, here we go. Just for Jake, 4 black-red cards.
I mean, that's on brand. So we've got Anathemancer, Zombie Wizard, 2 great type lines. Got some Mind Flayer vibes in this art for sure.
Mhm.
Seems really good in a gold set.
This is punishing the 5-color greed decks and is quite popular and constructed for a while.
Yep, I can definitely see that. Bituminous Blast is a card that I think is really cool. I've never really gotten to cube with it before, but Cascade 5 is really maximum slot value for this. You don't get to Cascade much bigger than that most of the time. And Instant Speed Cascade is just cool.
Yeah, exactly. This is quite the combat blowout before you go to blocks.
On the general scale of control players have over a Magic game, I tend to think that Cascade is very cool as a way to shake things up. I think revealing cards off of the top of your deck is, again, this thing both players engage with, and I think there's this really beautiful moment. In the same way I love Dark Confidant flips, where both of you are looking over to see what has happened. And there's so many possibilities. So I love that.
Yeah, it's great.
Deathbringer Thoktar. Is Wooly Thoktar also from this set?
Woolly Thoktar was from Shards 2 sets ago. Thoktars are from Naya.
So whenever another creature put it in a graveyard, can make it bigger. That is really cool. Obviously, very expensive.
And then it bans X1s from your opponent's board forever. Until it dies.
Yeah, once a creature dies.
Yes.
And then we have Defiler of Souls. Ooh, that's pretty cool.
This is such a neat build around to me. To be like, yeah, if you just have gold creatures, there's no downside to it, and your opponent will lose a creature every turn.
Yeah, I like that. That's true. I like that if it's your only creature, that's true. So you can play this as like a control top end or something like that, where you maybe it's a control top end where all of your win conditions are gold, so you're never sacrificing them. Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's just a really neat design. I've tried to find places for it before.
Yeah, I really love this card.
Also, the art where he is above angels, looking down at angels, is a really cool, like, juxtaposition of the way we normally see angels.
You're absolutely right, and it's like triple chain bone whip is really intimidating.
Multiple spine. Okay. So, cool for cubes. Soul Manipulation is a really neat 2-for-1 that I used to play in my budget cube a long time ago. And you just raise dead or remove soul, or both.
I recently got to play this card in the Drown Yard, and it was really, really good.
Yeah, it doesn't ever feel great to just use it for raise dead, because you're paying blue 1 extra for it to be an instant. But it is very cool to like have that as a floor. It's never completely dead unless you're not playing creatures at all somehow.
Yeah, I think these cards that ask you to find 2 targets to maximize them, but let you do either, even though either are both a little bit overcosted, are a really interesting design space.
And when you get the full value, it's exactly the 2 costs smashed together, 1 blue and black.
I think there's a lot of design space that's sort of untapped in those.
Behemoth Sledge is a reference to Armadillo Cloak, but because it has the same text as Shadow Spear, I thought you might not like it.
I was going to make a joke that it's pretty wild that Shadow Spear used to cost 3 and then 3 to equip in a gold card. No one would complain about Shadow Spear today if this is what it cost to make it go, although I am no longer a Shadow Spear defender. So, I don't know, giving up. Greg's a pretty persuasive guy. He's made a very compelling case that it didn't belong in my cube anymore. And Behemoth Sledge doesn't have the same charm to me.
It's also not legendary, so you can stack them up.
That's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, you can get the extra +2/+2.
Hey, right now, Lifelink's a trigger.
Oh, wow. I forgot about that. Okay, well, yeah, if you actually get lifelink, that is pretty useful.
It's going to be a trigger for about 3 months. Sigil Captain.
You have a lot of green-white cards you like in this set.
Yeah.
Whenever a creature comes to play, if that creature is a 1/1, put 2 counters on it. Oh, that's cool.
Right? So neat.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. So many tokens are 1/1, especially in green and white. This is just such a cool design. Like, okay, yeah. Draft Raise the Alarm. You get 6 power.
Right? Yeah. Really, really cool.
Yep.
And then this card.
Leech used to be a mainstay of cubes. Very powerful constructed card, the memory of which carried over to early cube.
I mean, 2 mana 4/4.
Mm-hmm.
2 mana 4/4 is a lot.
A lot of heat on that card.
Love it.
But not as much heat as Maelstrom Pulse. Overshadowed it a bit.
I mean, Maelstrom Pulse is so lame. a big Maelstrom Pulsator.
Oh no!
This could be one of my more controversial takes, I suppose. So what I don't like about this card, and in constructed, totally different, right? But specifically in cube, I feel like this usually punishes you in weird ways that your opponent didn't plan on. They're just running it because it's a reasonable removal spell, and it happens to get you specifically because you've got something that makes creatures or permanents that are the same name.
I mean, it's just anti-tokens. Or like blow up all of a token type or blow up anything you want. What's wrong with that?
I think Plague Wind isn't fun pretty much in any circumstance is the problem with it.
Well, why you should have a variety of creature tokens.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I guess you're not drafting around Maelstrom Pulse or playing around it in an interesting way, right? Like, I don't think it's correct when you see Maelstrom Pulse to be like boarding into different token makers. You probably don't have that flexibility. And so I just don't like cards that sort of interact in that space.
I can't believe you even complained about this card since you always have a sack outlet on board.
Yeah, if you always have a sack outlet on board, that's fair.
It does nothing.
Well, I don't know about that. It still is Plague Wind. They just got something out of
What?
it.
No, you sack the target. The spell doesn't resolve.
Oh, yeah, look at that. For some reason, I thought this targeted all of them.
No, one thing. And if this resolves, everything else with the same name.
Yeah, meanwhile, Zealous Persecution is sick. I think this magic card is
That's
so
more
cool.
of a Plague Wind than Maelstrom Pulse.
Nah. Because here's the thing. Sometimes this card is really bad.
Okay. And what's the counterplay? Take 1/1s out of your deck?
No, I mean, like, yeah, it gets 1/1s. That's going to happen. There are a lot of things that can give -X.
This is so crazy to me.
Like, I think when you see this card, you play differently the next time you're going into combat, and they've got this mana up.
I mean, yeah, it makes you afraid of white-black forever because it vastly changes combat math, which results in a Plague Wind. What's the difference in Maelstrom Pulse? That was your complaint.
Yeah, maybe I feel less strongly about the specific Plague Wind aspect. I just think that the floor is way, way lower on what it does.
Okay.
And so a lot of what you're trying to do with it, I think there's interesting counterplay too for the opponent. They get to make some decisions.
I like both these cards, so I'm not going to complain. And then you were right. 2 more green-white cards.
Yeah, I mean, Pride Mage, classic. Enough said. And Dawn Discord I've never seen before, but I think he's really cool.
Very popular constructed card at this time. And for 3 months, damage uses the stack. So this thing can block, assign 3 damage, and then save your entire team.
Wow. Yeah, that does make it meaningfully better. Yeah, I guess today you print this with First Strike and you get most of that. That would actually be a pretty interesting design. Like, not, man, 3/3 First Strike for 3 is kind of miserable from a blocking circumstance.
It should be first strike while attacking. And then what you can do is swing your whole team, assign the 3 first strike damage, and then sack this after it's dealt its damage.
Yeah, you're totally right.
And you don't have the blockers
That's
problem.
the way around it.
Yep.
And I think it's a really, I just think that that's like a really, I think it's an underused space. I think First Strike with a combat damage trigger that can sacrifice for some kind of value creates an interesting incentive set.
Note the awesome Vulcan Baga art once again, artist of Elspeth Knight Errant from last set. And yeah, I already pointed out Raymond Swanland. Each shard has a set of artists who are assigned to that shard, and it gives it a lot of visual cohesion. Okay. Personal favorites. Would you look at that? Something that makes goblins. So Cathari Bomber, 2/2. The only thing I don't like about this card is that you have to sacrifice it. There's no option. It's a 2/2 for 2, and when you hit them, you sack it and make 2 goblins. I, many times as a young player, limited the fact that you had to sack it. Obviously, when you unearth it, who cares? It's going to be exiled anyway. But I really wish I had had the option and that I could keep pecking away with a flyer if that's what I needed, which was often the case since I'm playing an all-ground goblin tokens deck. But, whatever. It's 4 damage and 2 goblins on 1 card. Who can complain?
I think that's a very cool card.
Terminate. Game changer for me. I had a lot of trouble answering certain creatures in my Black Red Goblins deck, and this was everything I wanted. Answer anything. Can't regenerate. 2 mana.
Yeah, I feel like there's not much to say on Terminate.
Mm-hmm.
It does what's on the tin.
Blitz Hellion, I vastly overvalued. Thought it was so sick. Have a 7/7 trample haste that I can draw again.
Yeah, really good if you have Sundial of the Infinite out.
Yeah. Hasn't been printed yet, but I love where your head's at.
Whoever has the Sundial of the Infinite Emblem cube, this is going to be a staple.
Yeah, what about a cube where you just skip the end step? There's no end step. Cleanup happens at the end of second main.
Honestly, that's pretty wild. I'm gonna have to think about that one.
Look at Slave of Bolus. Then you never have to sacrifice it. You just keep the creature forever.
Yeah, honestly, I think this would be pretty degenerate, but maybe in a really entertaining way. Like the color pie is just like out the window. Claim the firstborn is just
Unearthed never exiles. I mean, unless they die, of course, but they don't exile at the end step. You just get to keep your unearthed creatures until they would have died. Then they go to exile.
Does that effect stay if you end the turn?
Yeah, it's like a value of the creature once it comes back for the unearthed cost.
Dash is just cast with haste. There's a lot of weird interactions that occur there. I think probably you should be a judge if you want to set the cube up because you're gonna have to answer a lot of questions. But if you are, that's actually a pretty interesting idea.
Outside of this gimmick, Slave of Bolus is quite cool.
Yes, I didn't know this was a spell. This is sort of Ixalan Angrath's minus.
Yeah.
I think it's only 3 or less that gets sacrificed.
Yes, that's right.
But that's I like that a lot.
Yeah, this is a super cool card. And really, really good art.
Especially interesting in blue-black.
Yeah.
Like Dimir usually doesn't get to do this.
Exactly. Not something that you would normally get in blue-black, but they definitely did a little bit of bending to be able to do these gold hybrid cards that are gold or a different gold. Okay. Fun facts about the set. So, I told you this set was solid gold. It's all gold cards. The way that they revealed that to the public was by previewing Ardent Plea, because its collector number is 1.
That's really cool. Yeah, I love that.
And I don't believe they told the public that. They just said, here's a card from Alara Reborn. And then the public just figured it out and went, oh my god, that means
They're all gold.
they're all gold, baby. And then there's Cascade, obviously, on that card. Double Negative, a very cool spell to have in the Cascade set, so that you can effectively answer a Cascaded card and its Cascade target.
That's a wild card. So interesting. Really fits into that exact same what we were saying earlier. Being able, a slightly underrated version of an effect that you can have 2 of if you find it. In this case, it's just counterspell, counterspell.
Counterspell, and a fork copying your counterspell.
Yeah, really nasty in the control mirror. Right?
Yeah.
Get them to fight over your first counterspell and then just counter both of their counterspells.
Yeah. Sphinx of the Steel Wind. Now this is a Tinker target. I hated this card. Protection from red and green? What is this? And it has lifelink, and it has vigilance, and it has first strike. I was just stone dead if this card ever landed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's still mostly true.
Well, my friends playing black could give it like -6/-6 with tendrils. Or they could, my white playing friend could Wrath of God. Nope. I'm just hosed if this ever comes down.
Protection from red is super funny on this card to me because it's a 6/6 first strike vigilance lifelink. Like what is red doing?
Shatter. You can't shatter or naturalize it.
Oh, right, because it's an artifact. Good call. Look at that.
Yeah, which is why it's tinkerable.
Good answer.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I tried everything. I say from sad experience that can't be targeted by shatters. And then the very last little fun fact, Earl the Miststalker. You'll note hexproof has still not been keyworded yet. This is one of the early, very popular commanders. A Mega Boggle that you can Voltron. When people think about boomer commanders that people who've been playing Commander forever still have as their commander, this is one of the forefront cards. And a bunch of the tricolor legends from this block are the boomer commanders, like Send Triplets, Rafik of the Many, Kresh the Bloodbraided, that kind of stuff.
Is Cedrus from this set?
The Trader King. Yes, he is. He's from this block, to be clear. He's from Shards, but not this set. But yes, this block.
Yes. Yeah, I opened that really early in my Magic playing career as well, just as a list card.
Okay, that is the end of the Alara block. I love Alara so much, but it's time to move on. To our time-traveling sponsors. You may be experiencing some trepidation after our last 2 sponsors.
I certainly am.
Well, fear not. This is a great year, 2009. Financial crisis is wrapping up. We are back in the good graces. We're in a good place. It's time to have a little fun. Our first fun sponsor, Minecraft, leaves beta or whatever it was in and releases officially to the public for the first time. And this year, just a fun little time-killing game. In 2009, that's all we thought it was. And then it would go on to redefine society.
I can't add anything to that. What an intro.
Speaking of going on to redefine society, our second sponsor is Instagram. Just a fun little sharing photos with your pals app. This is the original app icon for Instagram. For somebody bought it and changed it.
Instagram came out in 2009. Wow, I did not know that.
Yep. First released with this icon in 2009.
I didn't get a smartphone until 2012.
That's the year that Facebook bought it and changed the icon.
Nice.
2012. Yeah, just some fun, hang out with your pals, play Minecraft, take photos, share them.
I'm not a big Instagram fan, but this absolutely blows 2008's sponsors out of the water. So
Hey, we had, we were struggling financially. We had to dig deep for those two. Won't happen again. It's all up from here on out.
yeah, I guess I will never have a 2005 episode, or sorry, 2025 episode. So
There you go.
that's true.
Okay, Core Set 2010. I did go to this pre-release, and that is the promo there in the center, Vampire Nocturnus. We know what I was doing July 11th, 2009.
R.I.P. Good promo stamp.
Mm-hmm. Do you know anything about Magic 2010? I've alluded to it many times. What can you tell me about the set?
Baneslayer Angel is in this set.
Good. Yes.
Damage is no longer on the stack.
Correct. There was a whole batch of rules changes, not the least of which is damage is removed from the stack. And other things that occur with this rules change are the simultaneous mulligan. The battlefield becomes something that we talk about instead of being in play. Things are on the battlefield. There is a rephrasing of everything to distinguish between cast, play, and activate. Activated abilities would normally say play this ability only anytime you could play a sorcery, for example. Cast and play become distinct things. You cast non-land cards, you play lands or non-land cards. Exile becomes a named zone instead of removed from the game. Mana burn is removed from the game. The blocker damage assignment order is created. And finally, Death Touch and Lifelink are no longer triggers.
Before this, did blocker damage order just work like it does now?
I think so.
That's really funny.
You just assign damage however you want. I'm pretty sure, but I can't remember for sure. They also did an update to banding with this 2010 rules update, which is super funny because they haven't printed a banding card in so long. But maybe that's why, is because of the damage assignment order.
Maybe. All right, well, let's learn about Magic 2010.
Here we go. The 2010 core set, which is not officially called M10 or Magic 2010, it is called 2010 core set, is, just for Jake, we have reskinned Threaten and Nantuko Husk into Active Treason and Vampire Aristocrat.
Both great cards.
Both great cards. You know them well. Cemetery Reaper, do you know this card? How do you feel about this card?
I have definitely seen this card. I don't know that I've seen this card with this art, which makes me wonder if there's a different art. But I've definitely seen this in a cube at some point. I think it's a cool card. Yeah, I think this is a cool one.
Looks like it has never had a different art until Aether
Well.
Drift Commander. Oh, no, that's the same art as well. It has never had a different art. It has always had this
Well.
art.
Then I'm lying, but I have seen it before.
Yeah, I think it's a neat card.
And I think it's a cool card.
Sign of Blood. First time printed.
Very, very cool card. I wish that Magic did this more, giving you the option for the weird 1% choice.
Devastating with Shield Root the Apocalypse.
Oh, whew. Yeah, I hadn't really considered that.
Get Lava Axed, you fool.
And then Master of the Wild Hunt, which you think of me of because of the wolves.
Yep, correct.
Yes, I have some very wolf-like dogs for those people who do not know that.
And he makes wolves, and then he can sick them on your opponents. This card would be a mainstay in Standard. It would be an extremely popular cube card for a long time after it was released, and I could not get a copy of this card for my budget cube for less than $5 for like 10 years after the release of this card. It just remained in that $5 to $10 range just because of the popularity of it. I think the price memory of people being like, oh yeah, this used to be good. And it wasn't being played anywhere. And they were like, no, it's a mythic and it used to be good. So it just never went under $5 for so long.
Yeah, I mean, price memory is a huge, huge thing.
I think the card's very cool. Making your wolves like kind of fight all together one thing. Very neat design.
Yeah, very thematic.
Okay. Cool for cubes. Captain of the Watch is neat. It is unique in this set in that there are multiple Army in a Can prints, which this is like kind of the prototypical version of. Siege Gang Commander gets reprinted in this set. And also Ant Queen in green gets printed in this set. This is the Lord. There's a Lord in every color. Cemetery Reaper was the first one, and we'll go over the other ones as we continue through. But this is both a Lord and an Army in a Can. And it's just a very powerful card to resolve and remain on the battlefield.
Do you think this art is on call time?
Well, Call Time doesn't exist yet. I'm sure they were going for a, Valkyrie-esque vibe, but I don't think they were thinking Norse specifically.
Okay. Yeah, it's a really sweet card.
Harm's Way, have you seen this in a lot of cubes?
I've definitely seen it in some cubes, not a ton.
I really like it for white. I think it's a cool white card, white option.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting.
Also, banger flavor text.
That's true.
Burning Inquiry is a very controversial card. Ruining someone's hand on turn 1 is pretty brutal. There's definitely a percentage of a chance that they like, oh, discarded your lands, you just have nothing to play now.
Yeah, this is a peak Joe card. I bet Joe loves this.
But this gets played and constructed not immediately, but in a couple years, and building around it with like Phoenix or Hollow One or Vengevine or Root Wallas or like there's so many ways that you can kind of construct a deck in the vein that this will always not bother me. Whatever happens, happens, and it also messes with my opponent. And I think there's some potential there that this should see play in a couple of cubes, and I have never seen it in any.
Yeah, it's kind of nasty in particular with the Narset style punishers.
Oh,
too.
well, no, you shouldn't do that. We're doing cool stuff here.
I'm not saying people should do. I don't know. I think if someone plays Burning Inquiry with War of the Spark Narset out, like that's kind of cool. It's brutal,
No.
but that's such a weird combination of stuff that you've done
That's true.
to make that happen.
But you shouldn't put
Like-
him to Turok in any cube, even in the aggregate.
That's true, but I think if you're worried about him to Turok, you shouldn't cube this anyway because of the potential
I guess.
aiming of one or both players.
Then Ant Queen, as referenced earlier, Armina can. I've seen this in a bunch of cubes. It always overperforms. I always think it's going to be, I can deal with that. It's 2 mana per creature. And then it always overruns me. And I'm like, oh, that's way too many ants.
2 mana per is not bad. In the right cube, that can just be your plan. And then it's, I'm going to do this, like, you answer it, and then I'll do whatever I drew in the interim.
Yeah. I think the last time that I got destroyed by this cube was in the Unplayables cube.
Yeah, it makes sense. If the cards are supposed to be unplayable, I really want a 5 mana 5/5 thing.
I was trying to do Lantern Control. They were like, okay, I'll make 5 creatures a turn. Go.
Yeah, I don't need to draw any cards.
Okay. Cube staples, as you already called out, Baneslayer Angel. This is also the first printing of Doomblade.
Huh. I would never have guessed that Doomblade was an M10 card, so that's very cool.
Strictly Better Terror, printed for the first time.
Because it kills artifacts.
And then Bolt. This is the first time that I have repeated a card I've already showed you. I just felt remiss not including Bolt here because it's like, what, the number 1 most played cube card of all time?
I think that's probably true.
So, you got to respect it. And also, by the way, the flavor text is a reference to the players not thinking they would ever get Bolt in Standard again.
That's extra cool. Yeah, I love that.
And then Acidic Slime. Great card.
Definitely. One of my favorite land destruction cards for sure.
Oh, you don't got to be rude about it.
I don't normally love it, but I think for 5 mana, it's a reasonable choice.
Okay, that's fair. I think this is a mean choice to put into a cube with Ravnica duels.
Yeah, don't let people destroy bounce lands. That's a bad thing to let people
General cube vibe. Baneslayer Angel, by the way, absolute house, will be in one of the decks that I show you at the very end of this slideshow. Just like constructed menace.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
And they're going to print a card in Zendikar called Halo Hunter, which you would think would be an answer to Baneslayer Angel. However, Halo Hunter enters and destroys target angel, and this cannot target Baneslayer Angel, which is like an immediate joke in the community. That they printed an answer to Baneslayer Angel that isn't even strong enough to answer Baneslayer Angel.
That is really funny. And yeah, I mean, this is like maybe far and away just like the best creature we've seen in any of the slideshows thus far. Like when I say best, I mean just on rate.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Another card that I could not get in the budget cube for probably 10 years because it would just always be a valuable card.
I bet this card still costs several dollars.
No, I did finally get it in. It was like $3 at some point. After enough printings, it finally got under.
That's several.
I don't think it's under $1 or anything, but okay. My personal favorites. Sphinx Ambassador. I have talked about this card on podcasts at times. I really enjoy the mini game of Sphinx Ambassador. Unfortunately, that is really only possible in Commander because it's kind of a pointless mini game in Draft to be like, boom, I lava axed you. Now let's play a game. Because like you're just going to kill them. It's a 5/5 flyer. But in Commander, it's a whole fun game where like losing 5 is not as big of a deal as getting to possibly bribery.
I definitely see the appeal of this in the multiplayer subset of the game.
Yeah. Super fun multiplayer card. Goblin Chieftain. We finally have a Goblin King that is not Goblin King, that gives your opponents Goblins Mountain Walk if they happen to have any. Always a brutal downside to that, especially if they have any changelings. Chieftain just does what you want. It has haste, your goblins have haste. Sweet. The only
Yeah.
goblin lord that we had before this was Mad Auntie, and that's a 2 and a black goblin that can tap to regenerate a goblin. Also very cool. I loved playing both of those cards in my casual goblins deck, but this was a huge upgrade for me from Goblin King. Siege Gang, one of my favorites of all time. I love this art specifically. It's really good, and I have a collection of all the Siege Gang commander arts, and this is just my favorite one.
Love this card.
And then Lurking Predators. Have you seen this card before?
No. Whoa. That's pretty cool.
Yep. This is, unfortunately, another commander favorite of mine. I play this in my 5-color party deck. That's almost all creatures, like 50 creatures. And so I have had an opponent try to remove this, and the trigger put Venser into play and put the removal spell back in their hand, so they had to try again and give me another trigger.
I love that. And I love Venser, so this one gets a thumbs up for me, even though it's a commander card.
Yeah. This is also the point of time where I begin building casual commander decks, so unfortunately personal favorites are going to start looking more like this, but hopefully we still get a good density of just like kitchen table goblin decks, which is what we have been up to this point. When I get to college, that kind of becomes the main way that I'm playing Magic, is hanging out playing multiplayer games instead of going to a shop, because there is no shop in my college town. We're just hanging out in dorms playing multiplayer games.
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Fun facts about M10. Do you know Hive Mind?
Nope.
Check this out.
Wow. That is a weird card.
Can you think of a use for this card that would win you the game?
Does it work with the chains?
Nope.
Then no.
Pacts.
Oh. That's awesome. So you just, like, pact, and then they don't have the right mana
Yep. Exactly.
to pay for it, so they lose.
Uh-huh. Hive Mind, Pact of the Titan. You also Pact of the Titan. Go.
I love that.
It's really funny. You can also Pact of Negation. So they have to cast Pact of Negation, and if they counter your Pact of Negation, then you don't even have to pay anything. They have to target something, and the spell can't target itself.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So this is a popular constructed card with the pacts specifically in, like occasional modern. Modern doesn't exist yet, by the way, but like just a couple of, it makes a couple of format appearances. Disentomb, we talked a long time ago about how I called Raised Dead effects Disentomb. And this is why. This is the first printing of not Raised Dead, Raised Dead. They did a couple of renames, like we saw earlier with Active Treason. This is one of them. Haunting Echoes, I thought, was backbreaking in casual Magic. Exiles all your cards from your graveyard, and then they tutor all the copies of the cards they exiled that aren't basic lands, and they take them all out of your deck.
You thought this is backbreaking?
Yeah, because I'm playing a bunch of duplicate goblins, and the goblins die really easily. So then they hit me with like, okay, I'm going to go take all the goblins out of your deck that have already died. And then I'm going to have like basic lands and like 6 creatures left.
Yeah, to be fair, I think letting the opponent like go through your deck sucks.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, I just think this is a deeply dissatisfying part of playing Magic.
Yeah, that's fair. Elvish Archdruid, another member of the Lord's Cycle. This is the first one that does a kind of iconic thing for the squad. Land where elves equal to your number of elves. Bunch of mana. The Merfolk one just makes target Merfolk unblockable, and I think is probably the lowest impact of these lords. The Elvish Archdruid is like played in Legacy and Vintage Elves immediately, so a little bit of a different impact.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It reminds me of Imperious Perfect to some extent, but it taps itself rather than letting all of them tap for...
Imperious Perfect just makes 1/1s. It makes a 1/1 that it buffs to 2/2.
They don't tap for mana, though?
No.
I thought they did.
Nope. Must be thinking of something else.
No, you're totally right. This is kind of interesting. I'm going to toss this one in the Midwinter maybe board.
Yeah, it's a cool one. Okay, our first non-standard discussion. So there have been some dual decks come out. Dual deck Elves vs. Goblins was the first one. Divine and Demonic comes out. Liliana and Garruk, I think, comes out this year as well. But Plane Chase was extremely cool to me. This is going to be where I first start kind of diverging from regular Magic. I don't just want to play 60-card Constructed, and I don't just want to play the new EDH thing that is coming out. I want to do weird stuff, and this was kind of my first access to, let's kind of like do some game design. Let's play very different Magic. And Plane Chase, of course, is kind of like wacky, flip the table, because the rules are completely different now that we flipped over a new card. which is not always satisfying, of course. But I think it's so cool. It just has such a high cool factor that you're used to playing your same normal decks that you've played with your buddies 100 times, and here's like a brand new context for them over and over.
Yeah, I think that's spot on in terms of what's going on. It's one of those things that, yeah, if you're trying to design a tight experience and do all of this, maybe this isn't what you're looking for. But if you're sitting around with your friends playing some kitchen table Magic decks, this is exciting. You're excited about the story you get from putting a bunch of cards on the bottom at the end of your turn, drawing that many cards. Even if it feels like, yeah, I probably would have won the game if this wasn't happening. Like, that's not the point. You got a cool story out of it.
Yeah. Also something to do with all your spare mana every turn, even if you don't need to. But like, yeah, I've got 2 more mana. Let's just roll the die and see what happens.
Yeah.
Those are 2 of our favorites. These are the other 2 of our favorites.
The art on these is so good.
I know, right? I famously would roll for Academy at Teleria West and then be really disappointed if I got Chaos. Even though I was going to draw 7 cards. Also, I was an idiot, and I would sometimes discard my hand and keep rolling, and then we would leave Academy, and I would just be hellbent.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's fine. The Meditation Realm one looks great. I think the Academy at Teleria West is maybe even better. That's just, like, the art is just so good.
Yeah, really fantastic. And these are just 4 of the many incredible planes available to you in Plane Chase. Notably, this is the first Plane Chase, not 2012. This does not have new cards in it. This is all reprints with these planes as the only unique cards. And then it was so successful, when they went back in 2012, they made brand new ninjas. They made Maelstrom Wanderer as the Cascade Face. They had brand new cards for the first time. I believe Baleful Strix came from one of those. Here we go. Moving on. Final set of the year. Zendikar. Beer, 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 beer. A banger set. After a year of pretty banger sets. If those who don't know, who haven't heard Mark Rosewater tell the story 100 times, the design of this set was what if lands mattered, and they went through all kinds of lands matter mechanics, and in R&D, they were like, lands? That's the most boring part of the game. Why would lands matter? We can't sell a set that is about the most boring part of the game. And then Rosewater started calling it internally the money set, and then I guess that tricked higher-ups into being like, oh, maybe we should give this money set a try. And it just play tested so well because landfall is an awesome mechanic. Like, praying that your top deck is a land is one of the coolest shifts in Magic's typical game state, like late game.
Yeah, landfall is an all-time mechanic. I've heard people criticize it for making lands better than they already were, but that's awesome. Mechanics that reward you for doing things that you normally want are cool, and in this case, yeah, making it so your top deck 7th land doesn't suck. So cool.
And also, Kicker was in this set, so that was another reason that you wanted to get a bunch of lands, so that it would upgrade your spells. Other than that, in this set, we also have quests, the enchantments that get quest mechanics and then sacrifice for some payoff. Most of the quest triggers are landfall. The higher rarities have different, weirder triggers. Traps, which are instants that become cheaper or free cost if your opponent has done something specific. And allies, the awesome, very insular creatures that are sort of like fixed slivers and have a much cooler aesthetic as an adventuring party instead of a alien race.
Yeah, can't wait to learn more about this.
Here we go. So, just for Jake, I have deviated from the black-red theme for Core Skyfisher because you like blinking things and bouncing things back to your hand.
Yeah, notably, I tend to prefer not paying to cast them again, but I actually think this card is really cool. I like it a lot. I think the art is great, and these are really evocative. And I like that it's flying, so it really beats down once it's in place.
I would like to note that these other 3 that I wrote just for Jake, I had not looked at Bodleian yet, and I did not know that they were in Bodleian.
Disfigure isn't, but
it used to be, right?
I mean, it's possible it was in there for like a small amount of time.
Okay. You reference Disfigures pretty often.
Yes. I do just kind of think of that as -2/-2 at baseline. But yeah, I have a couple variants like Deadweight, but not Disfigure itself.
Well, this is the first time they printed Disfigure,
which is just a very cool card. Love the combat trick potential on this style of card.
Ulcerate would come a couple years later.
Yes. I mean, Bloodcast is one of those cards where they nailed it with the first version, and they have just not managed to get back to there. I think there's 8 or 9 pseudo Bloodcasts, and none of them hit this way. I get that the fact that this comes back for free is a little bit insane, but I just think all of the ways that they've sort of tried to make that happen in cuter, more balanced ways have just felt a lot less cool. So I love this card.
How do you feel about can't block versus enters tapped on the black recurring threat?
I both are interesting choices. As a player, Enters Tapped is definitely preferable. As a designer, I think Can't Block is the right choice for Bloodghast. I think Bloodghast that just entered tapped would be miserable. I think one of the things that I think is really elegant about this card is it's very easy to get back. It lets you do all kinds of things. You feel really smart with your fetch lands and all the things like that. This card is there to either be sacrificed or get into combat. And it's a 2/1, which means 3/3 just deals with this, right? A 1/3 deals with this permanently. And I think that those things make it really good at what it's trying to do, but not overwhelming to deal with. And I think that that is really cool. So I prefer Can't Block for this iteration of the card.
Especially relevant on Bloodghast because of the haste.
Yes, that's also true. But like imagine like Bloodghast control. Like you're just like your opponent is just trying to get a couple Bloodghasts in the graveyard, putting a fetch land in, blocking a bunch.
Yeah, bring it back at your end step, untap and pass.
You try to remove blockers, they just
Yeah.
They just keep one fetch land in play while holding up counter magic, get in with something that they can't deal with. They just crack it. 3 Bloodghasts come back, they block 6 power worth of stuff. Good call, Wizards, on this one.
And then Burst Lightning, just sick. Really, really cool design.
Yeah, really like this. I think this might be. I was gonna say it's my favorite shock variant. That's not true, but it is my second favorite.
What's the favorite?
Unholy Heat, I think I think Delirium is just such an incredibly cool mechanic.
I don't think of that as a shock variant because it can't go face.
Yeah, that's true. I think of it dealing 2 damage as being a shock variant, but
that makes sense.
If we're not counting that one, Burst Lightning is my favorite. I think it's just very clean.
Also, Unholy Heat so easily upgrades to Doomblade that I just do not think of it as a shock variant at all.
Yeah, I think Delirium is just an incredibly cool mechanic that even a single card in your deck changes what you're looking to do with it in the draft in interesting ways.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That I like a lot. But I mean, I love this card, and I was very excited that in Foundations they finally printed a correct Oracle text version for the first time since 2018. So I could finally run it in my cubes.
Okay. Cool for cubes. So Hedron Crab is like legendarily a constructed mill card, and then occasionally in constructed decks you will target yourself. Like Vengevine decks, there's a deck called Crabvine, the whole point of which is to fill your graveyard so that Vine gets in the graveyard quickly, and then you can trigger it to get it back out. Crab is an easy creature to cast, to be one of the 2 creature spells that triggers Vengevine. Later it would be really important for Hogak in Modern. I think it is underused in cubes where self-mill matters, and I think it is a very potent self-mill card.
Yeah, I was disappointed that Zendikar Rising version of this card targeted the opponent.
Right, yes.
Only. Like, because I think the ideal cube version of this just targets yourself. I think the problem is just in a 40 card format, this actually just really gets in there really quickly.
Like, Citrus Supplier is so insane, and like if you have a fetch land with Hedron Crab, you're at the same rate already.
You're absolutely right. If you are looking to deck yourself really quickly, this card is definitely an interesting way to do it. Like, and I've actually thought about this card for Bodleian as a sort of Nexus of Fate, Jace Wielder of Mysteries piece of tech.
Yeah.
Where you're also trying to, mill cards like Uro with it. I'm not totally sold on it, but at the same time, especially with, I hadn't really considered it, but with Ice Till Explorer, the brand new card, and a single fetch land, this just mills you 8 cards a turn.
Wow. Sure
which
does.
That's going to empty your deck fast.
Well, to note, the fetch lane does get worse and worse the more you mill. You will eventually blank.
That's true.
Into the Royal is a Pauper Cube staple.
I think this is just a cube staple. It's true that, your Bun Magic cubes plus aren't playing this, but I'm pretty happy to play this in a wide variety of cubes.
A lot of good flexibility there. Nighthawk also, I see it in a lot of cubes. Not so much anymore, but it was one of the original just like stat monsters of, I have 3 very potent keywords.
Yeah, I think that this card is another one where they printed, unlike Bloodghast, it's kind of the opposite problem Bloodghast has. Bloodghast, they haven't printed anything I think that feels quite the same, and Bloodghast is also cooler than them. In this case, I feel like they print like a couple Vampire Nighthawk variants with set mechanic a year, but they all have dumb words on them, like start your engine or stuff that makes me just hate them.
Yeah.
Whereas this card is really hard to hate. It is quintessentially good in all 4 quadrants of gameplay, which is definitely potent. I didn't know this was an uncommon. That's insane. But
what did you think it was?
I thought it was rare.
Wow. Interesting.
I feel like this would be a limited monster, but
Oh yeah, in Kaladesh block they print one that is the same as this except replace Death Touch with Vigilance in 1 white. I think the Death Touch is much cooler.
I think the Death Touch, yeah, it's cooler, and I think it's more effective in a lot of ways. They play Rampaging Baloths, and you think, well, that's a huge problem. At least they can't attack with it.
Speaking of Baloths,
I love this card so much.
this is a green top end card that I actually like, and I'm notoriously a hater of green top end cards.
I see why you like this, because it's got a lot of things going for it, including the fact that you can just answer it very cleanly, and then it's gone before it has a chance to do anything.
You have to like save a land after playing it to guarantee some value out of it resolving.
Really cool. I would love to see this in a space with cards like Elvish Reclaimer. Yeah, actually, Knight of Reliquary, frankly. Like, that's just a cool...
Oh, yeah.
Like, but that feels earned, right? Like, I can't deny that getting 10/10 in power because you have Knight of the Reliquary on the battlefield feels much cooler than just this immediately returning a land to the battlefield or something like that so that you get it.
Whenever you said Elvish Reclaimer, I was actually thinking of the new Ewit that is permanence only. It's an elf. I can't remember the name of it actually, but it's Elvish something that is similar to Reclaimer. And that made me think that this was printed in the Foundation starter box. Just like a very, very foundational type card. Like, yeah, this is just what green is about. Colossal Dreadmaw Plus. That's what Mythic Rare gets you.
Hard to go wrong with that as a formula.
Okay. Some cube staples. Spell Pierce we've already talked about, being in your cube. Goblin Guide and Lotus Cobra also in Bodleian. Journey to Nowhere. Back whenever they were two separate lines.
Yeah, the classic Oblivion Ring templating. I think this card's cool.
I see it in a lot of cubes.
Yeah.
I guess like Ossification is now probably outclassing it.
The thing is, though, you should just put Journey Nowhere in your queue instead. Cards that enchant lands suck. I'm here to say that. Like, I don't want to have to be like, oh yeah, I tuck my opponent's creature under my card that's tucked under my land. Like, that's just too many things going on in a zone where I don't want to see it. So don't put Ossification in your cube. It sucks. I think in that same set, there's the Arrest that hits Planeswalkers, which also probably contends with this pretty robustly.
When Goblin Guide comes out, I immediately want it, of course. It's unfortunately one of the best aggro cards in the format, so it's a $40 card. So I end up borrowing all 4 copies to play at the very few FNMs I'm able to go to in 2009. So
$40?
Yeah, just borrowing $160 worth of cards to play in my $30 deck. Loved that. This, I think, may surprise you. 1 year before this, Shards of Alara, we get Mythic Rare for the first time. And the community is outraged that we now have a super rare. And WotC says, don't worry, we're not going to put the chase cards at Mythic Rare. We're going to put the weird designs at Mythic Rare. The really like out there stuff that, you don't want to be happening as often in a draft. The really like niche, legendary, kind of like weird space stuff that's not appropriate at Rare. We're going to put that at Mythic. Not chase cards that you're going to put 4 copies of in your deck.
Yeah, I'm sure no one wanted 4 of Lotus Cobra in the set that dropped fetch lands into Standard.
And then a year later, Lotus Cobra gets printed, and the community goes, what the hell? You said it was going to be weird stuff that we wouldn't want 4 copies of in Constructed. This provoked a lot of outrage because it was so efficient on rate, not legendary, and fairly simple. People were like, this is not a Mythic Rare. This should be rare.
Seems like not a lot's changed.
But we were promised because the people were outraged whenever Mythic Rarity was announced. They were like, we're going the way of Yu-Gi-Oh! There's going to be a bunch of rarities, and you're going to put all the best stuff at the highest rarity, so we have to buy more packs. Obviously, the card's great, but it was surprisingly contentious printing just because of the rarity symbol. My personal favorites. So I love Step Links. I couldn't afford fetch lands, obviously. And by the way, they were like $9 at this time. And I was like, whoa, that's way too expensive. I just had basic lands, but I still thought Step Links was super cool. Like a 2/3 for white. I know about Curd Ape. This is great. So I played that. Later, whenever I could afford fetch lands and I was playing like Modern Zoo, I would get to play Step Links as a 4/5, which, is kind of what it was printed to be. Like a really cool high ceiling card if you can sequence your lands right. Then it would get reprinted in red as
Akum Hellhound.
Akum Hellhound, yep. And
which was a fundamental kitchen table magic card for me.
That's great. Look at us syncing across time.
Akum Hellhound and Ancient Green Warden with Evolving Wilds was my super janky attack as a 8/9.
Yeah, that's
combo.
Sweet.
It felt pretty cool. Obviously only good in like crazy two-headed giant kitchen table games where you're like Akum Hellhound goes in the same deck as a 6-drop,
Yeah.
and Evolving Wilds is your fetch land. I only had 3 copies of Evolving Wild for that deck, so I remember I would have to juggle an Evolving Wilds from a different deck to get that to work.
That's so good.
So I am deeply fond of this card. Also, fun note: fetch lands are $9 right now.
Oh, wow.
Like Windswept Heath from Khans of Tarkir is $8.87.
What's Arid Mesa?
$25.
Yeah, because Modern Energy. Once Modern gets created, it hasn't been created yet. We still just have Standard, Extended, Legacy, and Vintage right now. Once it gets created, fetch lands rocket in price. Tarmogoyf gets like near $100, breaks $100 in some cases. Snapcaster Mage is a like $90 card for a long time. Jason Mind Sculptor, of course, is banned, but it's still popular in Legacy, so it's high money. And then the fetch lands are just like iconically expensive cards. This is like kind of an amazing. Yeah, it was printed and it was worth like almost nothing, and then now here we are in the present, and it's worth so little again because they printed it over and over and over, which is what we asked for, I guess. We got what we wanted.
Yeah, when I started, fetch lands were crazy because they were box toppers in Zendikar Rising, and we opened one in a box we split, and I think we bought like close to another box with it.
Yeah.
We just agreed to sell it and buy another box and split that one too.
That's so
because,
sweet.
I mean, we didn't know that they were crazy or anything like that. We just like, oh, this card's worth a ton. More boxes.
Quest for the Gravelord, I thought was so cool to be a 1-mana 5/5 if 3 creatures die. And I'm playing Goblin like little guys, so of course 3 creatures are going to die.
This is what Quest for the Necropolis is a reference to.
Yes, Quest for the Necropolis is a fixed quest. So it has, I believe, landfall quest counter, the 7-mana ability that costs 1 less for each quest counter. That's like fixed quests, because quests are famously bad when you top deck them if landfall is the condition, which all the commons in this set, landfall is the condition.
That really checks out. And we have Goblin Bushwhacker, a classic card.
I play 8-whack, obviously not yet, not till Battle for Zendikar is printed, but I'm a big 8-whack guy as soon as we get the second set of these. I also played this in Standard. I had just had a little crappy Goblins deck where I had borrowed Goblin Guides. I don't think I was playing Warren Instigator in that deck. Because, like, if you just put Bushwhacker into play, it's not very good. But if you put Goblin Chieftain from M10 into play, I guess that's pretty good. So maybe I did play this card. I can't remember. Double Strike Goblin Lackey is cool design.
Agreed.
Okay. Fun facts about the set. So we've already covered Vampire Hexmage creating effectively the Dark Depths archetype. Thespian Stage is years away from being created, so at this point you're just getting Dark Depths with your Knight of the Reliquary and your Crop Rotation. And then Hexmage is your way to instantly make a Merit Lage. Do you know what's cool about Obsidian Fireheart? It has the most metal reminder text of all time.
Yeah.
The land continues to burn.
That is really... It's funny I didn't read that reminder text while I was parsing the card.
I thought you might not have, which is why I called it out.
And then read it because I had exactly this question of, if you kill it, does it keep happening? The answer is yes.
Perfect.
So it worked as intended. The art is incredible.
Raymond Swanland, this is his year. He did a bunch of Jund cards that were absolutely sick, and then here we are in Zendikar. He did Arid Mesa. He did Obsidian Fireheart. Just knocking it out of the park. What a guy. Vines of Astwood, what's cool about this is that you can use it as a counterspell whenever your opponent tries to target their own thing with something.
That is cool. The art on this is deeply unsettling to me.
Yes, I agree.
Like, it looks like his chest is just, like, gone.
Yep.
And replaced with vines.
Yep. And then I didn't know if you knew that the enemy fetches did not exist before this. We may have already covered that topic at some point.
No, they're just iconic enough cards that I know that Onslaught and Zendikar are when they were printed. Because these were legal in Standard. And then ally ones become legal in Cons. And then they promptly decided that wasn't a good idea and banned them from Pioneer.
Okay, before we move on to wrapping up, the last thing to note about Zendikar. Do you know about priceless treasures? Non-Zendikar cards that you could very rarely find in Zendikar booster packs.
No, I've never heard of this. This is different than Expeditions.
Yes.
Then no, I've never heard of this.
This is the inspiration for Expeditions. Priceless treasures were cards from the reserve list, including the Power 9 and Duels, and some non-reserve list cards, but mostly reserve list cards, that were not printed. Real cards were taken and as part of the printing process put into one in, I don't know how many booster packs, maybe 1,000, maybe more, maybe 10,000, who knows. Extremely rarely, you can open Power in Zendikar.
So this is just like when they did this with the Dominaria Legends
Exactly.
in Dominaria United.
Yep.
Except you could open Black Lotus instead of Tabernacle.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty crazy.
I didn't know if you had ever heard of that.
I hadn't. And what I find most charming about these, I love the idea that there's just like Black Lotuses out there that were opened in casual kitchen table Zendikar Rising, things that are, well played, well loved, and people have no idea that that's, anything out and noteworthy.
Yeah, we just opened it in a Zendikar pack back in 2009.
Right. People like open a bunch more looking for them. They never figure it out. They're just like, oh, this is really cool.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I thought you might not know about that, and that you should learn. Okay. So wrapping up, we're going to talk about some of the decks from this year. Do you know about Painter? Decks based around Painter Servant.
Yeah, basically you try to make all your opponent's cards a certain color, and then you play things like Red Elemental Blast that destroy those cards.
What's the win condition?
I don't know.
Read Grindstone.
Oh. And then you just pay 3 mana and they die.
Yep. And Lawan there, you're naming blue, of course, so that your Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast hit everything. But Lawan says, bounce all blue creatures your opponents control. Your opponents can't play blue creature spells.
So that also just locks them out.
Yep.
Well, it locks them out, assuming you're 8 trillion counter spells, quad Force of Will, plus Pyroblast, plus Red Elemental Blast. He's probably pretty good at stopping.
So this is the central combo of the deck. But the thing that is cool about this deck to me, Imperial Painter, is that it is a toolbox deck. So you've got Imperial Recruiter, who can go get Painter Servant or Lawan or Trinket Mage. Trinket Mage, in turn, can go get Grindstone or Engineered Explosives, Pithing Needle, Divining Top, Chrome Mox. You just have this huge flexibility. And also, you're just playing 4 Tarmogoyfs. Because sometimes you're just going to Force of Will and Tarmogoyf them to death. And the most popular color to play is blue. So you've already got your Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast that are protecting you from counter magic just naturally.
That is pretty cool. I do like when you have like a combo toolbox, but you're also playing a fair game.
Yeah, sometimes you just bash them up with Tarmogoyf. Sometimes you turn on the combo and they never come back. Okay, so I just didn't know if you knew about Painter, and I think it is a cool thing. And it did very well this year, 2009. So thought it was worth mentioning.
It is still a legacy deck to my knowledge.
Yes, it sure is. Next up, Cascade Swans. We talked about Seismic Swans last year.
Yes.
Discarding lands to shoot the swans to draw 2 cards. With the release of Alara Reborn, we have Cascade spells. So it is now much easier to find pieces of your combo.
It's 41 lands in this deck, Bones.
Yep.
So you're just bituminous blasting into swans.
You could Bituminous Blast into Swans or Seismic Assault, but your Bloodbraid Elf, Captured Sunlight, always get you Seismic Assault.
That's crazy.
And then you have Adnaz at the top to draw you so many cards.
I also love that this deck is $183 today, and the last one was $7,000.
Yeah, duels will do that.
That's an insane deck. This is where Cascade is either really dumb in what it's doing in constructed, like when you're auto cascading into Volky, or it's insanely cool when you're doing a Swan Seismic Assault combo off your 5-drop.
Super cool. Also, Primal Command can tutor for Swans.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Okay. Finally, so this won Grand Prix Barcelona 2009. This is the world's 2009 winning deck. And I just want to note for you that this is pre-rotation, so we still have Time Spiral Block, Shadowmoor, and some of Shards. Once Zendikar comes out, we just have Alara Block, M10, Zendikar. Period. It's less than 1,000 cards.
And what we've decided to do there is play Naya Jund.
Naya Lightsaber is the name of the deck. 4 Baneslayers, Bloodbraid Elf, Noble Hierarch, Ranger of Eos, which can go get your Wild Nikotl, your Scoot Mob, or your Hierarch. You've just got Woolly Thoktar, Stat Monster, Path, Bolt, and Johnny Vengeant.
Yeah, I mean, this is a cool deck.
The thing that is really neat to me is that Wild Nikotl does not have any duels to see. You must go get a Mountain and Plains for it to be fully turned on.
That's crazy that this is a 4-fetch, which is just getting Mountain points.
Yep. The previous year, July 2008, Standard was over 2,000 cards. It had 9 sets in it, and now we just have 5 sets less than 1,000.
That's pretty crazy.
And it's a very good time. M10, Alara Block, and Zendikar is such a cool standard. Look at the bottom here. In your day 1 undefeated, you also have a Turbo Fog deck, which uses Time Warp, Howling Mine, and is just stalling out until you can kill them with Jace Bellerin.
That is really cool. They have a lot of Jund.
Yes, the bit about Zoomers have boos, boomers have zoo. This is certainly the year of zoo. Bloodbraid is huge. Jund and Naya are basically the kings. You can see that Bant gets a little bit of play. I talked about the 3/4 lifelink for 3 last year. That's really popular. That's most of the reason that you're playing Bant. And Bloodbraid Elf, like, of course, giving you blue is semi-relevant, but mostly it's just ramping you, and the color doesn't matter. Not a great year for blue or black, unless you are part of the Jund deck, but red-green is having a great time this year.
I like red green. I think it's interesting. This is the first deck we've looked at that really just includes a lot of cards that are well known to me.
I thought that too, because previously, during the Elf Ball deck, I had to like pull up a bunch of cards. And whenever I pulled up the Kithkin deck, I just ended up showing all the cards because I didn't think you would know any of them. This is the one
Right.
where I was like, oh, he's just going to know all these cards. Maybe you don't know
Yep.
Scoop Mob, but you know everything else.
Exactly accurate.
Scoop Mob is a 1/1. At your upkeep, if you have 5 lands, he gets 4+ counters.
Nice.
And that's it for 2009. Next up, we're going to be hitting World Wake, which has some of the things that you guessed earlier would be Maudlin are not going to appear until World Wake. Rise of the Eldrazi is a really big shakeup.
Yeah, it's almost worse. I'm not going to get credit for that next year in my own estimation because I guessed wrong. Let's be careful about that.
You were given hints. I won't wonder aloud, but it's going to be interesting to see how different 2010 is in your estimation. But this is like one of the peak years of Magic to me, especially. Tons of these cards are in Museum of Modern.
The only set I know that comes out next year is, I guess I know 3 of them. I don't feel confident that that's going to tell me what cards are in the cube. So tune in next time to see that go poorly for me.
Yeah, we don't really have a consistent way to close these out. We don't have a sign off.
That's true.
I think I'm going to cut it right there. I think it would be so fun to not tell them goodbye and just say, we don't really have a sign off. And then it ends.